Let your brother count on you every play tonight. Okay? And then come out and have fun. The gates are locked. Ain't nobody getting out now. They can't run. The gates are locked. Let's bring the fight to them, guys. Yes, sir. Hey, brother. Let's pray.
The Northeast Texas Sports Network is dedicated on delivering the most entertaining sports broadcasts in East Texas. And if you're interested in having your next sporting event streamed live, visit us online at NETSN.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Week 13 of bEast from the East. It's Mr. NETSN Brett Swinney alongside me tonight, Mr. Red Zone OT, K.O. Kyle Owens. Kyle, how's it going?
Doing great, doing great. We had an excellent opening weekend of the high school football playoffs, ready to get into week 2.
Man, was it ever. And there was some interesting games, some games we expected to go one way and they went the other. And let's talk about that first as our pick-em from last week. We had a 10 out of 10. Johnny K. Johnny K with the 10 out of 10 this week. Good job, Johnny. You know who got 9 out of 10 though? That measly Scott Poole. I don't know what I don't know how he always seems to be at the top. I can't ever gain any ground on the guy. I don't know.
I know it's tough. It's tough, but I think you're burying the lead here. Do you see who was at? Do you see who was also on that top page there with an 8 spot?
I don't know. I don't see anybody that looks familiar. Austin Powers. No, he's a 7. No. Is that Kevin Owens? No, I guess it is Kyle Owens. Not bad.
Yes.
Hey, now it's 7 though. I'm right behind you, so you didn't gain but 1 on me, Kyle. So just that one pick you got on me this week. Now, the one thing I want to mention is who I don't see on the leaderboard. He's not here tonight. He's also known as Hornswoggle on this show now. Aaron Peoples. I don't see him. And that was your next target, Kyle, and I don't see him anywhere near the top.
Well, I'm looking at the leaderboard right now, Brett, and you know who is now 4 above Jaron,
KO
spots
Collins.
above Jaron is Kyle. So I don't know how bad Jaron did this week, but
Let's
it
see.
couldn't have went well.
2 of 10. Ouch. I wonder
Ooh.
if he didn't get his picks all in, because that just sounds like I mean,
Ooh.
that's a rough week. We'll have to ask him about it. I'm not sure what happened.
Jaron.
Maybe he succumbed to the pressure of the professor and the coach going back and forth last week.
Yikes.
Maybe that just threw him off his game. I don't know. But needless to say, still 7 solid there. Week for me. I thought when some of these games are going on, I thought I might do a little worse than that, but not too bad.
No, it wasn't too bad, and you're my next target. Now I'm 5 behind you, so these picks coming up these next few weeks are going to be very, very interesting between me and you because I got to find 5 somewhere on you.
When there's 5 weeks left,
Yeah,
so you
listen,
have to
I can just
pick
gain
week.
1 or 2 a week. I'll be fine.
Yeah, well, you gained 1 this week. Now let's start with what we'll do is we'll start with our picks. We'll go down through those, and then we'll look at some other games from last week's playoffs. There's no polls this week. Our polls are done for the season, but we'll talk about last week's games, and then we'll kind of roll over to our picks and then this week's games, because there are some really juicy matchups for week 2 of the playoffs here. But let's see. Game 1 here, we had West Sabine and Grapeland. I had Grapeland in this one, and they got the win. I don't know. I really thought that Grapeland Overton district was strong, but boy, were they ever. 4-0 this week, Kyle, in the playoffs, and Grapeland took care of business 42-20. And man, I thought they were good, but that district really showed its strength, and I think the Keegan Ash addition for Mount Enterprise kind of put them as a 4 seed that was an asterisk by it. I think they were a really tough one.
Well, we saw a couple of those this week, right? A couple of 4 seeds that probably shouldn't have been 4 seeds, but they were. And it's kind of like we always talk about with the 3 seed being the best seed to get in the district. This is a perfect example. Grapeland lost to Overton earlier in district play. They get the 3 seed. You think, oh man, really wish we could have got that. But now this week you get Goldthwaite instead of having to face Martin round 2, like Overton has to do. So
but Goldthwaite beat Mart 46-0 in week 11, Kyle. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on there, but anyway, the Grapeland Sandys though, I'm a big fan of Grapeland. I got to see them earlier this year against Alto, and was just impressed with their defense. They were old school, hard hitting defense. They do just enough offensively sometimes. I know they put up 42, so they had a good night offensively, but normally they win defensively and make plays that way. But yeah, I'm excited for this Grapeland Sandys team, and they had a good win over West Sabine. And West Sabine didn't have a bad year either. I mean, shout out to the West Sabine Tigers for getting into the playoffs and being able to actually get in there and try to make some noise as a 2 seed. But yeah, congrats to the Grapeland Sandys and Coach Jordan Wood. Moving on.
All right, game 2. The game that Jeremy and I were at, a really good one over there in ARP, as Joaquin with the win over Centerville. I had Centerville. I should have believed in the Rams. I will from now on, man. They were impressive. I even had Dolan Jordan, number 1 for Joaquin. His dad, I was walking to the concession stand at halftime, and his dad stopped me, and he's like, "Hey, I just wanted you to know I love what you guys do. I watch your show every Tuesday night." He watches us. So shout out to Mr. Jordan. We appreciate you watching. Thanks for stopping me, and it's always nice to hear that people are actually out there listening to us, Kyle. We're talking to ourselves here, but it's nice to know that people listen to us and they like our show.
No, absolutely, and shout out to him because that's and it's from a kind of it's in a new area for me. Like I know Joaquin is a school that NETSN has covered. I haven't been able to cover Joaquin yet, but I know I'll get down there eventually. But yeah, it's awesome to see when you're out and about and you have people that watch the show and people that actually pay attention. Because yeah, like you said, a lot of the times it feels like it's just me and you shooting it over here and just kind of hanging out, having a good time, which is cool. But it's good to know that people are actually watching, which makes me stay on my toes to know that people are still listening.
Yeah, yeah, and that was the thing. Like, I was just walking, like all these people in the crowd just happened to be walking through, and he stopped me, and man, the Joaquin Rams were impressive. But Jeremy and I talked about just the matchup of these two teams, kind of very similar teams. They like to both pound the ball. There was only 100 throws on the year we talked about on air. Now they threw the ball a lot more. Coach Hubbard tried to throw out it's going to be less than 10, and he got pointed out wrong. But there was a lot of things in this game. Like, we thought, okay, pound it, but there was a lot of big plays in this game. There was a lot of plays over 40 yards. There was like 4 or 5 of those, and most of them were touchdowns. But man, Joaquin, I was reading on a forum too that they've got a couple of injured players still out, and they've got a couple of guys that hopefully will be back next week. And so, man, if you're a Joaquin Ram fan right now, you've got to be licking your chops, because this is the time of year you get rolling and you can get the right matchups. We talked about this region, Kyle. It's kind of wide open.
Well, yeah, it's wide open, and the type of football that Joaquin plays travels. Like, it doesn't matter if it's a snowstorm, a rainstorm, windy, bright and sunny. Like, the type of football that Joaquin plays travels, and there's no antidote for that. Like, they're going to be able to run the football, and they're going to pound the rock. And now Coach Hubbard was right about one thing. Joaquin did throw less than 10 passes. Now combined, no, but Joaquin only threw 1 pass.
He was going for the combined total of less than 10. So,
well, in his defense, Centerville got down late in that game and had to throw the ball. So that's where I think the numbers may have got skewed a little bit. But no, congratulations to Joaquin, and they earned it. I mean, again, it goes to the seeding thing. Like, the district that Joaquin was in was Shelbyville, Garrison, Timpson, and then Joaquin getting that 4 seed. Like, let's not forget, Joaquin beat the district champs. Joaquin beat Shelbyville. Like, head up, beat them. So this is not a bad football team. And it goes back to our point about being a 4 seed. Like, they're not your normal 4. They should have an asterisk next to their seeding as well. But I like Joaquin, man. I like the Joaquin Rams. I like what they're doing down there. And like I said, their offense, the way they play football, it will travel. And they're going to be a hard out for anybody that has to play in the playoffs.
yeah, agreed. Game 3, a game we had on NETSN with a huge number this last week. It was a great game, a game you were at, Kyle, as Gilmer held off Center 20-13 in a very different game than last year.
Completely different. It was 20-14 though. 20-14. Let's give Center that extra point.
Sorry,
there.
it was an extra. Yes, it was a 6-point game. Sorry,
but yeah, no, it was quite the game. Yeah, last year was 69-42, and this year Gilmer scored 20 straight points and held on to beat Center. So everything got started on Center's first drive. TJ Bellin hit Timothy Johnson down the sideline, put the Rough Riders in the red zone, and then Bellin capped off the drive with a 2-yard rushing touchdown that put Center up with 7:11 to go in the first quarter. Gilmer didn't score till later in that quarter when the Gilmer Buckeyes started on their own 45-yard line. It got deep into Center territory after a 32-yard pickup by Caden Tennyson. Then the senior running back Trillian Butler ran it in from 16 yards out. The game was tied at 7. Later in the half, the Gilmer – so 2 holding calls on Gilmer actually backed them up into their own territory, back to the penalties we were talking about. 2 holding calls on Gilmer backed them up, but then a 37-yard rush on 2nd and 22 put Gilmer right back inside the Center red zone. Butler scored another touchdown from 2 yards out. Strangely, the Buckeyes went for 2 on some type of trick play. They did not get it. So it was 13-7 with 8:09 left. Defenses back and forth, forcing a ton of punts until quarterback Brady McCown for Gilmer hit Brendan Webb, the state title game MVP last year, connected with him for a 31-yard touchdown pass that put Gilmer up 20-7 with 2:39 left in the first half. That would be it for Gilmer scoring-wise, which is crazy. And then in the second half, Center scored late in the third quarter when Bellin hit a little pop pass to Timothy Johnson for a 9-yard touchdown, and that was it. But here's how the game ended, Brett. And this Center's going to be kicking themselves, one, for the amount of missed throws that they had. Bellin had open receivers, and they would just be overthrows, like right off the tips of the receivers' fingers, just barely out of the reach. And so Center's going to be kicking themselves for that, but also the end of the game. They get the ball back with about 4.5 minutes left, and they're down by 6. So a touchdown, extra point wins the game. So on the very first play, they get a false start penalty. Okay, so it moves them back to their own 46-yard line. So they're still near midfield. Everything's good. They throw an incomplete pass on 1st and 15. Clock stops, whatever. 2nd and 15, there was a ton of confusion around this play too. And Bellin, the quarterback, and the running back, they're looking over at the bench, and the ball snapped, and it hits off the leg of the quarterback, and it's almost like nobody on Center's side realized what had happened, and Gilmer immediately jumped on it. Ball game. They run out the clock the remainder of the time. So Center didn't even get an opportunity to try and do anything. They couldn't even get the drive started. But, yeah, it was a defensive battle, man, and we talked all year long about Center's defense. Center's defense is a liability. Center's defense shut out Gilmer in the second half. Like, Center's defense did their job. Center's defense got outplayed by Gilmer's defense on Friday night, and it was a great game though. I think the Center team, had they not met up with Gilmer in the first round, I think you see them advance. But man, hats off to Coach Metzel and the Gilmer Buckeyes for finding a way to just grind out another win. That's a championship pedigree that they got over there in Gilmer, and the Buckeyes are going to be an extremely tough out for anybody they got to face going forward.
Yeah, I think we talked about the Center defense had improved, but if you'd have told me the score before the game, I'd have been like, that halftime score, which it almost was, but the defenses of both programs stepped up, and I mean, I think it's a testament to both teams. We talk about how defense travels. If you have some defense that can stop somebody, you can make a run. And so, hats off to Center. Great season for the Rough Riders. But, you named a couple of guys, Timothy Johnson and TJ Bellin. They both play the round ball. And I've already been talking to the Center guys, and they're expecting a pretty good run this year. Now the divisions are split, they may be able to avoid some of those bigger Houston schools that have caused them problems over the past couple of years. So, good chance for them. But I hate that that's the way it ended for them. But great season for the Rough Riders, and survive in advance. Gilmer moves on.
Yeah, Center's got a really good football team, and that's going to be a theme for a couple of other teams that we talk about tonight too. Is they're really good football teams that maybe just had a bad night or had a bad circumstance happen, like with Center, a bad snap on a crucial moment in the game and then you don't get the ball back to go back. But that's exciting to know about them playing basketball. Center's is full of athletes down there, so yeah, they're going to be a problem on that basketball court.
Hey, and you know where you can find the Center hoops this year, Kyle?
Where, Brett? Can you tell me?
It's that app, NETSN, that puts and streams high school sports. Oh yeah.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. So, do you mean now every Center game?
I think they're
home and away.
Pretty much every game, yeah.
Wow. Okay.
I know the girls have already started. We got a couple of games coming up. I've already put on the up on the website. So Center Rough Riders are coming in, and of course Larry's gonna be bouncing around to some of those other schools for basketball. But basketball is officially kicked off for our southern area of the Northeast Texas Sports Network. But we've been doing basketball for a few weeks, but they're going to start some games as well. So, but yeah, Coach Harrison and the Center boys basketball team is someone you might not want to play this year. They're going to be pretty good.
Yeah, I'm excited to see him on the basketball court.
All right, now game 4 here. We got Atlanta and Winsboro. Winsboro, a team that we've talked about all year. That's they played Malakoff down to the very end, and if they didn't run into a Mike Jones, they may have won that game. Mike Jones.
Oh, okay.
They might have won district, but looking forward to a rematch as they got the win 42-21 over Atlanta. No surprise here to me. I had Winsboro here, and I really think that it's them and Malakoff in that region. I think there may be a couple others that may give them a game, but I do think that they're the best two teams in the region. We'll see if they get there, but hats off to Winsboro with their first playoff win here this season.
Yeah, I agree. I love this Winsboro team. I think they are a very good team, very good squad, and they got that motivation from being knocked out of the playoffs the past 2 seasons by Malakoff. They want that rematch with Malakoff in that 4th round, and I think they're highly motivated to get there. So not surprised by this score at all. And it seems like Winsboro and Atlanta play in the first round in every single sport. I guarantee you, mark it down. This is November 17th. Come playoff time in basketball, Winsboro and Atlanta will be playing in the first round. Mark my words.
Okay. All right. As long as they're not in the same district, then they couldn't play in the first round. But I guess they're not close.
Yeah, they won't be in the same. Yeah, they won't be in the same district, but they'll definitely play in the first round without a doubt.
All right. The next game on the list here was a game that was played at Rose Stadium as Van and Athens. I had Van in this one, but Athens gave them everything they wanted, Kyle, in this game. Man, I was just really impressed with Athens and their effort. I mean, Van is a really good team. We've talked about them, but 38-30, Van gets the win and they move on.
I said it on overtime this past Friday night. Coach Moffitt at Van is probably the best second half coach in East Texas, maybe the state of Texas. Like, he makes halftime adjustments every game to keep his team in these games. I go back to the Van Pine Tree game that I was at earlier this year. Pine Tree was up at halftime, and Van fought back in that one in that second half to make it close and nearly had that game won. To be down 20-7 at one point to this Athens team, and to come back and fight to win, because this Athens team is not a pushover. Athens beat Center. We were just talking highly about Center. Well, this Athens team just beat Center. So it's a very good Athens Hornet football team, but my hats go off to Coach Moffitt and the Vandal coaching staff for making the second half, or making the halftime adjustments for the second half, scoring 21 points in the third quarter to take that lead and to hold on and win that game. Because I've said it a couple of times tonight, but this Van team, I'll tell you what, who Gilmer doesn't want to see in the third round is this Van Vandal football team, because Van gave Gilmer all they could handle in district. And now third round of the playoffs, if they have to meet, that's going to be phenomenal. But Van's got to get past a tough one this week. But if Van and Gilmer meet in that third round, that's going to be must-watch television.
All right. Game 6 on our list here. The ARP Tigers got ran over by Woodville. Man, it was just a tough loss for Coach Minky and that crew. I had ARP, and so did 33 others, and this was the game that separated us, Kyle. You had Woodville, I believe. Didn't you?
No, I had ARP.
Oh, you talked about taking Woodville, and then I think I convinced you to take ARP. But man, this game is one that we had on NFHS. Vince and Jaron were over there. We did something new this week. If you didn't catch any of our streams, where we had a little halftime and pop in, where we popped in and chatted with each other across games on our network, which turned out pretty well. I thought we're going to try to do that again this week. But talking to them at half, Woodville was just impressive to them. They thought it was just a little bit overmatched for ARP, and so Woodville is going to have their hands full as they get a pretty good opponent next game, which should be a good one. But the ARP Tigers and Coach Minky, they're done for the season. 7-4, good season for them, but just ran into a bus on Woodville.
Well, and Pops videoed this game, and I was talking to him about it today, and he said that Woodville had an offensive lineman that was 300 plus, looked like an NFL guy. Then he said their running backs for Woodville would get hit, and then it would take 2 or 3 more ARP defenders to bring down the Eagles running back. So it kind of sounds like Arp was just overmatched. And I hate that for Arp because they've been playing some good football. And I really liked Coach Schminke, and I really thought that this Arp team was going to make some noise this postseason, to be honest with you. Even though they were going in there as a 3 seed, I thought they're not your normal 3 seed. But this Woodville team is not your normal 2 seed. They sound like they got some dogs down there. And yeah, you said it. Sets up an area round matchup that a lot of eyes will be on this week between two big old hosses.
Game 7 here. We had Canton and Farmersville, and Farmersville blanks Canton 27-0, and a game that, man, we've talked a little bit about Canton this year and how good is Canton? Did the schedule come back to get them? And I think maybe it did. They just didn't play a whole lot of competition during the preseason. They make it to the playoffs, and they meet a Farmersville team which just dominated. I mean, 27-0. I mean, it's about as dominant as you can get in a playoff first round game.
Well, we're used to seeing this Canton team shut out people. The Canton defense has been the name of the game all season long for this Canton Eagle team, and for them to they've been playing a really good defense. So to get shut out this past Friday night and to give up 27 points, did not see that coming. I'm with you. I don't think Canton's. I'm not gonna say it. I think Canton had a good year, but they ran up against a tough Farmersville team and just couldn't kind of get out of the mud there and couldn't get out of their own way and score any points. So
the Farmers took them to the farm and left them in the mud. They couldn't get out.
There you go. Fortunately, Canton usually has a pretty good basketball team, so I think basketball season will be good to the Eagles.
Okay, the round ball is here. Game 8. White House and Huntsville, and we had our man Josh Jared went down to watch this game, and he was very disappointed, I would imagine, as we talked about being a dominant 27-0. How about driving to Huntsville and getting beat 45-0 in the first round? That's a tough way to end your season right there if you're White House.
This White House team has just been inconsistent this year. It's just been inconsistent for White House, but that district opening loss to Mount Pleasant kind of opened a lot of eyes to the inconsistency from White House. And yeah, I hate it for them to have to make that trip all the way down there to Huntsville and not put any points on the board and to go out that way. It's tough for Coach Kyle Westerberg and the Wildcats over there, but he'll get it turned around and they'll be back next year, and they'll be back in the playoff picture next year as well. So I'm not worried about White House. Tough way to lose, tough way to end the year, but not worried about White House.
I did have Huntsville there. I guess I went the right direction there and picked against the East Texas team. Just didn't think they had enough. And man, I didn't know how good Huntsville was. That's for sure. I didn't know they were that good. I thought they would win this game, but man, 45-0. That's impressive. Game 9, Troop takes care of Anderson Shiro in round 1 as they win 35-6. Not surprised there. I thought Troop would take care of business. They have a really good football team. We've seen them a few times this year. The running back Wells, the coach's son's a good little ball player, along with I think it's Wallum as their quarterback. They've got a good little set of offensive weapons for them, and they got a tough matchup this coming week. We'll talk about here in a minute, but round 1, shout out to Coach Wells and the Troop Tigers.
Troop's dangerous. Troop is a dangerous team right now, Brett. And when you got your quarterback Bryce Wallum that's running for nearly 200 yards and 4 tutties, and then you got the coach's son Brett Wells that's down there. He's shifty and he's quick. Wallum's kind of that pounder as the quarterback, and then you got Wells back there that's shifty. This Troop team's dangerous. Remember, they when they played New Diana, I was at that game. They held that high-powered New Diana offense in check for a majority of the game. So, like, this Troop team is not to be slept on. They do have a tough matchup this week, but I am not counting out Coach Wells and the Troop Tigers. They are playing some really good ball right now. Speaking of playing good ball,
Game 10? Game 10, do you want to talk about this one? As I went with Kyle's Lindale Eagles. They didn't let me down as Lindale gets an impressive opening round win. Going in as the 4 seed in this district, and they get the win 49-21 over Little Cypress Mauriceville, and they're one step closer to a district rematch, one away. As you know, we'll talk about here in a minute about the bracket, but 9-4A Division 1 did pretty well this week.
Yeah, undefeated, I think, there for 9-4A Division 1. Now, Pine Tree had a little bit of a tough one against Bridge City, but this Lindale team, I made the joke there earlier about speaking of playing good football, but these Eagles are playing some really, really good ball right now. We talked about it last week. That Pine Tree loss in overtime. I understand it was a loss, but you took a really good Pine Tree team on the road to the brink. Like, you nearly had them beat. And then to come out and perform against Henderson in a must-win situation with everything on the line, and to perform the way they did, I had faith in my Eagles going into this game against the number 1 seed, undefeated in district play, Little Cypress Mauriceville. Did not expect a 21 or a 28-point victory, though. That was a little surprising, but you know, I'm not going to count these Lindale Eagles out, man. I think they really want that rematch with Kilgore. And I will say, if it gets to a Lindale-Kilgore rematch, this is not the same Lindale team that got blown out by Kilgore earlier in the year. Like, this Lindale team's playing a lot better. The quarterback's playing with a lot more confidence. So, shout out to the Lindale Eagles, man. A 4 upsetting a 1. But again, Lindale, not your normal 4 seed. Would have won a lot of other districts.
And you think about Henderson team that was the 5th seed that got left out, probably could have beat any of those 4 teams as well. So, I mean, a tough spot to be in, but that's what the District of Doom does.
Yep.
All right, let's go through this this bracket and talk about some of the other games that went on here. We'll start with the top classification. We've got 6A. We have the one 6A team in the playoffs here, as we have the Longview Lobos. They got the win over Naaman Forest, 23-13.
Did not look good though.
Yeah, and so they've got Lancaster up next. I don't know. I mean, this is an interesting region. You've got DeSoto looming up top in this region. I mean, you know, Lancaster's always got a good team, so we'll see. But they're going to have to get some things straight if they're going to advance too much farther in this bracket.
7 turnovers, Brett. 7 turnovers for the Lobos, and they still won by 10 points. Like, that is insane.
That's a lot of turnovers, man. I wonder.
But to your point though, they're going to have to clean that up. I mean, you can't do that against a Lancaster team that has beaten you recently, because they were in the same district just last year, I believe, a couple of years ago. So this is going to be a tough one for Longview, but yeah, not a great opening round performance, but Coach King can rest easy knowing, hey, at least we turned the ball over 7 times, but we still got to win.
Got to win. That's impressive. That many turnovers. I wonder what the record for most turnovers in a win is. That they I don't think that's the record.
But that's close.
You don't want that kind of record, but man, survive and advance though. We talked about it. So all you got to do is get on to the next round. And now they've got a lot of things that they can look at on film and clean up before this week's matchup. All right, we'll go down to 5A Division 1. You know, we look at this bracket, you've got Lufkin left is basically your East Texas team. They got a win over Houston Milby 63-14. And Kyle, that game could have been 100 to I mean,
this Houston Milby team was one of the worst playoff teams I've ever seen. Like, it was bad. Now, and I don't want to take nothing away from Lufkin, because I think Lufkin is a really good football team. They've won, 9 in a row or 10 in a row since that opening week loss. So they are a great football team. But this Milby team, my goodness, like, it was bad. It was real bad. It opened with a blocked punt for a touchdown. Then Lufkin ran one play and scored a touchdown. Then there was a pop pass that was dropped, which should have been called an incomplete pass, but they ruled it a fumble that bounced right back up into Kevondrick Taylor's hands, and he ran it into the end. Like, everything was going Lufkin's way. It was 35-0 at the end of the first quarter. Just all Lufkin Panthers. They got a tough one coming up this week against College Station. That's going to be a really good matchup, and that's going to be a really good test to see just how good this Lufkin team is, because College Station's got the pedigree. I believe, I don't remember when, but I feel like a couple of years ago they were in the state title game. So College Station is going to be a tough out for Lufkin, but I'm not counting out the pack. This defense is phenomenal for Lufkin. The 14 points, by the way, was scored on the backups late in
Like
the
the
game.
JV.
Yeah, probably.
Okay, so just looking at this bracket here, and you talk about how Milby looked. Their district didn't win a game. So Galena Park won District 10. They lost 70-0 to the 4th seed Port Arthur Memorial.
There you go.
I mean, that's all you. I mean, that's what happened here. Is we just had a district that's why Milby made the playoffs. They weren't playing anybody, unfortunately. Right. But Lufkin, in this, you look at down through this, you've got down through, you got LaPorte, you've got you got Galveston Ball, which played Lufkin well in district there. That was the number 2 seed. Lufkin's got a good chance here. Barbers Hill, though, they scored 83. Well, they said, forget that. 83-13 over Houston Sterling. So, man, there were some high numbers against these teams, Kyle. It's crazy.
That's a bad district. That's a really bad district. Now, remember, Lufkin beat Barbers Hill 32-14 to open up district play. I think in my opinion, looking at the bracket, without knowing much about these teams down south, if Lufkin gets past College Station, I don't see any reason they don't make it out of this region. Like, I think they are the best team in this region.
You got A&M Consolidated, which was the number 1 seed out of College Station's district as well. So they obviously beat College Station. So that could be another one in the regional final that could be a challenge there. But yeah, I think the third round game wouldn't be as hard. I think you're right. I think College Station and then possibly an A&M Consolidated game in that 4th round would be the next test for Lufkin. But I think they're liking that Region 3, Kyle.
Yeah, I think so. It's that first round was at least pretty good for them. Now, here's what I don't like about A&M Consolidated is they beat I guess not my hometown, but it's the town named after me, Kyle, Texas. They beat Kyle Lehman High School 77-0 in district. The Kyle Lehman Lobos finished 1-9 this season. So a tough year for the Lehman Lobos, but we're fighting back.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I don't think there's a town named after me. That's pretty cool, Kyle, that you have a town named after you.
Yeah, they're not very good at football, apparently, though.
Maybe they can get you a statue if Lindale can't.
They do have a festival each year to try and break the Guinness World Record for the most people of the same name gathered in a city of that name, or some weird record like that. Okay. They've had like hundreds of Kyles show up on this one day in Kyle, Texas. I haven't gone, but I really want to go.
But not the Kyle Owens, though. They haven't had
the Kyle Owens show up yet, but I really want to go one day. One year, I'm going to go.
Okay. All right. That'll be interesting. We should, you should go live. You should make it
go live stream.
Yeah, we should go live or, make a story out of that, Kyle. I mean, you do work for the news station. Could be a cool
I could. Maybe if they'll pay for it. That's quite a trip down there to Kyle.
Well, maybe they'll pay for it. I mean, and you do a lot of things for them. Maybe they'll do that. Be a good story.
Maybe. We'll see.
All right. 5A Division 2. Of course, we just talked about Huntsville beating White House. You had Marshall and Texas High win out of the East Texas area. Look down here, and Hallsville respectable, 43-20 over lost to P&G. Not terrible. I mean, P&G is a really good football team, and Hallsville, played with them there. I'm that's an impressive.
I'm curious to see if it was a Lufkin-Milby situation. Not putting – I think Hallsville would have blown Milby out too. Let me just put that out there. But what I mean is, like, was it like a 38-0 or 37-0 game, and then the backups came in and Hallsville they pulled the Dallas Cowboys and made it look good at the end. That's all I'm saying.
Well, yeah, ouch.
I don't know how the game went, though.
Ouch. I don't know. I mean, the score looks to me, just looking at it, it wasn't a 60-0, game.
Right.
Hallsville being a 4 seed, we talked about that district was, I mean, heck, they put up better. I mean, look at White House; they got beat 45-0. So I mean,
right.
It's
and
that's
PNG's the defending state champs too. So
yeah,
like that's a good, and it was on the road at their house. Like that was a tough place for Hallsville to go and play, but you're right, they made it respectable.
I'm looking forward to some matchups in this region. I think you could see, a Texas High PNG third round game, which I'd sign me up for that one. And then you got that team from South Oak Cliff looming in that top bracket. So say the winner of that could be playing South Oak Cliff in the
Are they a
region.
Dallas school?
I mean, I guess so. Technically, yeah.
They're a DFW area school.
Yeah, I mean, unless we just want to claim them, we can just reach over and claim anybody we want. Evidently,
well, they're playing in an East Texas region, so I think that they should.
We got
be
PNG in there too. Like this region's kind of, and then you got Texarkana. This is a widespread region here.
Yeah, it really is. But I think, listen, I'm not sleeping on these Marshall Mavericks either. Last year they played Midlothian Heritage in the first round and had them up, or was up on Midlothian Heritage, I believe, at halftime, 14-7, and ended up losing that game. So I'm not sleeping on Marshall. I think Marshall's got a good opportunity against Midlothian Heritage, and then they get past them, then you got Sock in that third round. I mean, it is Sock, but I'm not going to count anybody out. And how cool is this? We could see a state championship rematch in the fourth round of the playoffs between Sock and PNG.
Yeah, that's the way the alignment works sometimes, huh?
That is, but to your point, like those two teams shouldn't be meeting in the region. Like that shouldn't be a regional final because you got a Dallas school and a Houston school. Like that is such a. But 5A-D2 doesn't have that many schools in that region.
Yeah. It's man, it's just so you almost don't get as many widespread as that because then you got Oak Cliff is at the top at District 5, and then you've got them down in District 8, so they're at the very edges, so they could fall either way. And unfortunately for them, fortunate for everyone else, though, the only one of them will be able to make the semis. So.
Right. Makes everybody else's path a little easier.
Everybody else is fine with that, I'm sure. All right. Let's 4A Division 1. We talked about this a little bit while ago on our picks, but the Lindale Eagles did win. You've got Kilgore, Chapel Hill, and Pine Tree all won as well. Pine Tree, you mentioned it was a struggle. They won 35-28. So the sweep for District 9, we talked about the possibility of it being last week. We kind of called it. We said this very well could be a sweep district, and it was. So I just looked here at this bracket here. I don't see any reason why we don't see another sweep this week. I just don't.
I mean, my only pause for concern would be if we're just looking at records. Would be Worthing's 11-0 record against Chapel Hill, but we just talked about it with the 5A-D1. Some of these Houston districts are just not great. So
yeah, they were the one team to win out of that 11. I guess District 11, and
they won by
7 over the fourth place team of District 12.
Yeah.
So and the fact we expect Demetrius Brisbane to return this week for Chapel Hill.
That's what I was going to say. I heard that he was back this week too.
So Ricky Stewart's already played this little bit last week. So you got.
So he's fine. His ankle's good. Ricky's ankle's fine.
He played this week. So
okay.
I expect You know, I don't know how much. They may not have needed him too much. I'm sure it was just in spurts just to get kind of back in the flow. But you get both those guys back.
So you're telling me that second round of the playoffs, we're getting a Chapel Hill team that's at full strength with, for better or worse, a healthy, rested Demetrius Brisbane. My only concern would be how much has he been able to stay in shape with this time off. So
I think
that's my only concern. But
I think the longer
we'll see.
they're in, the more dangerous Chapel Hill is.
1000%. Yes. I think if there's a time to get Chapel Hill, you better get them this week, because the longer that Brisbane's able to get more in a rhythm playing these games in the playoffs, this Chapel Hill team is going to be dangerous. So yeah.
And the Pine Tree quarterback is out. I don't know if
I saw that.
How long he's going to be out or whatever. So that may show, you know, Kate's being out, that may show why they struggle a little bit in that first round game.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this region's lining up to be a 9-4A regional semifinal with all four teams. I mean, I don't see any reason why not.
Yeah, very, very well could. We're looking forward to that one. Sulphur Springs, we don't want to not talk about them. They're in the second region, Region 2. They got a win this week, 55-14. They get Springtown in the next round. Win over Swaggy's Dallas Carter team, sends them to basketball. But I think they're already doing pretty well in basketball. I've kind of kept up with them a little bit. But nice win for Sulphur Springs over Carter there.
Yeah, good win for the Wildcats. Don't know anything about Springtown, but give me Sulphur Springs. The only problem is that third round looming is Frisco Panther Creek that already put it to Sulphur earlier in district play. So, but you always want that rematch. It's hard to beat a team twice in the same year.
It is. How about Salina winning 75-0?
That's pretty good, right?
That's not bad. 75 points is hard to put up in basketball. Football is hard as well. All right, so let's go over here to 4A Division 2. We've got let's see, Region 2. We've pretty good region here. We talked about Van and Athens a while ago. Van plays Van Alstyne in round 2 after they got the win. You got Gilmer. We talked about that one a while ago. They're going to be playing Sunnyvale. Pleasant Grove won over Bullard 56-14. And then Carthage beat Spring Hill 40-0. Also that Farmer Canton game.
Let me ask you something real quick.
Yeah.
How does Pleasant Grove get another home game in the second round?
I'm not sure.
Did you notice that?
I did see that. I'm not sure how that happens.
They had a home game in the bye district, and they have a home game in the area round. How does that happen? I thought, I knew about the first round, you could, flip for home and whatever.
Maybe they did it again. Maybe the team agreed to flip home and home again. I don't know.
Why would you do that?
Don't know. It's a risk. Maybe there's no way they can win the flip 2 times in a row, right? Wrong. Now here's the deal with this bracket. You know, we've talked about this before. The District 7 and 8 champs meet in the third round, which is going to put, if it goes the way I think it's going to go, and I think you probably agree with me, Pleasant Grove, and Carthage in round 3. That is a state championship caliber matchup in round 3. Then we talked about a while ago, you could have Van Gilmer also in round 3. You could have a All East Texas round 3 in this bracket as well.
I think we get that. I think that's what we get. I think Van beats Van Alstyne, Gilmer beats Sunnyvale, PG beats Farmersville, Carthage blows out Crum, leaves no crumbs. But yeah, it is a unfortunate situation. I got to go to the game last year though, Carthage Pleasant Grove in round 3. As a fan, love it. It's awesome. I mean, to get these caliber matchups early on in the playoffs at these neutral sites, which are close, oh, that's awesome. It's awesome. But it's unfortunate because a good team's going home before they should. And it doesn't matter which one it is, whether it's Carthage or Pleasant Grove. One of those teams has an opportunity that if they were in a different region to make it to a state championship game or at least a state semifinal. But this region's absolutely loaded. I could see, and I'll even throw Van into this mix. Any of these 4 teams can win this region. I mean, I think any 4 of them I can see winning. Now, Carthage, I think, is the favorite, the heavy favorite. But, I mean, you catch Carthage on a bad night, or you have an excellent night and you upset Carthage, why not? You know, like I think, why not Van? Why not Van to come out of this? Like, anything can happen in this region. But I do agree. I think it's an All East Texas regional semifinal round, and man, we're gonna have some great matchups these next couple of weeks out of this region.
Yes, we are. I think this could be there could be a lot of games around in the area after Thanksgiving that are going to be really, really good. Hopefully, they space them out enough where we'll be able to bounce around and cover several of them. All right, let's go over to 3A, Division 1. We've got a couple of regions to talk about here, as the East Texas is kind of split here. We've got Region 2, Liberty Aloe advanced on in round 1, 57-35. They'll meet Pilot Point in round 2. Winsboro, we talked about a minute ago, they'll play Palmer in that top part of the bracket. Then you have Malakoff, led by who?
Mike Jones.
Okay. Mike Jones and the Malakoff Tigers. East Texas own. We'll be playing Maypearl, and then you got Jefferson and Grandview down there at the bottom of this bracket. Man, this is another good bracket. I mean, you could have, seriously, maybe I'm biased, but I think Liberty Aloe, Winsboro, Malakoff, and Jefferson. I mean, 4 East Texas teams there. I think you could. I mean, Malakoff and Jefferson. A certain person that was on the show last week just doesn't think Jefferson's very good, but I think a Malakoff Jefferson matchup, man, that's an interesting one to me. And Winsboro, Liberty Aloe. Liberty Aloe has a lot of great athletes up there. Winsboro had some trouble with Malakoff and their athleticism. Would that be a problem? I don't know that it would, but it would be interesting to find out. This bracket is another one. I know I sound like I'm on repeat, Kyle, but and East Texas is just in these classifications 4A and under, they're just loaded.
No, it is. It's stacked. And my only concern is, well, first off, let me clear it up. I never said that I wasn't on the Jefferson bandwagon. I just said that they could, that they were undefeated for a reason. That's what I said. I didn't say they were world beaters or anything like that, like Diggs accused me of on the old Twitterverse. But after seeing Jefferson in person, I'm not impressed. But what I will say is they do have a running back, Cameron Williams, that is phenomenal. I believe he had 6 touchdowns against Mineola. He's a really good running back. He's a patient runner. He has a Le'Veon Bell type feel. Like he kind of just paces and waits till he can find the hole and then burst through it. So I really like that. My concern with Jefferson is you let a 2-8 Mineola team have you tied at halftime. If you're Jefferson and you're a district champion and you're undefeated, you should go out there in that first round and make a statement. Malakoff made a statement against Tatum in the first round. Jefferson, I was wanting to see Jefferson do that same thing. They didn't do that, which gives me concern against Grandview, who is a better team than that Mineola team is. That's my only hesitation as to the all East Texas region. Now, that's not to say that I think Jefferson's going to lose. It's just a concern I have. But I do think Malakoff handles Maypearl, Winsboro handles Palmer. Shout out to Pilot Point getting a 4-seed victory over Mahia. But, yeah, I think Liberty Aloe is just way too athletic, way too physical for Pilot Point. So I can see an all East Texas region. The one I'm concerned about most is Jefferson, though.
Okay. Then we got to go over to Region 3, and we talked about this last week, the matchup in round 2, Westwood and Columbus in round 2. Now,
It's unfortunate.
It is, and what concerns me if you're a Westwood fan, You only beat a fourth place Hardin team by 9 in round 1. And then you've got man, you got one of the best players in the state lined up against you in round 2, and Grayson Rigdon. Man, it's going to be tough sledding for Westwood. Man, I just hope they come out and play hard and lay everything out there. I just don't feel like that round 1 performance was what Westwood can do, and so I hope they play well. I know they've had some few players out. I don't know if they played last week or what their status is, but hopefully they'll put up a good performance. And you never know.
Listen, I think I'm not overly concerned about Westwood's performance. I know what I just said about Jefferson makes it sound hypocritical, but I guess the difference is I've seen Westwood this year. I know what they're capable. Like, I've seen Westwood 3 times this year. I know what they're capable of. I know Kavian Bryant, John Denman. I am concerned defensively how they're going to stop Grayson Rigdon. That does worry me a little bit because even against Timpson earlier this year, they had issues stopping JJ Garner. And I mean, Grayson Rigdon, JJ Garner, take your pick your poison. I think they're both phenomenal athletes. So that is a concern. I don't know who. I know Columbus has more than just Grayson Rigdon for them to be making it to the playoffs like this. But if I'm going star against star, I'll take 2, Kavian Bryant and John Denman, over their 1 with Grayson Rigdon. It's going to be tough, though. It's going to be tough. I hate that this matchup is a second-round matchup. But also, I got to give a shout-out to another East Texas team that got a first-round win in that region. The Diboll Lumberjacks, the 3 seed out of District 9, they beat the 2 seed East Chambers 28-21. So
yeah, District 9 actually got a sweep here in this region as well. Just looking at that.
Yeah. That's a good district, and Westwood is the winner of that district. So Diboll's got a tough one this week against Franklin. But again, like you said, anything can happen once you get into these playoffs. So I hope Westwood can take care of business against Columbus because I'd like to see a Westwood-Hitchcock regional final, but we'll have to see.
Yeah, I think if Westwood can get through this one, then I think they would. The round 3 game would be a little bit, I won't say easier, but easier than this one would be. But yeah, got a good chance there. And anything can happen. You don't know. I mean, you don't want anybody to get injured, but a player goes down and then it can change things. You just never know what's going to happen. So let's move over to 3A Division 2, and just a loaded East Texas bracket here. We talked about Woodville beating ARP earlier. They're going to face a Grand Saline team that's undefeated that knocked off Hook 68-27. We talked about Troop beating Anderson Chiro. They're going to take on a DeKalb team that beat Lone Oak 64-22. And then you've got on this bottom half of the bracket, New Diana, the undefeated New Diana team has beat New Waverly 43-21. And then Dangerfield knocked off Harmony in round 1, 35-14. So a New Diana Dangerfield matchup there in round 2. And then the very bottom of the bracket, you had Newton beat West Russ 60-24, and Edgewood over New Boston 54-28. So you got Newton Edgewood in this bottom half. I mean, man, this is another one that it's a lot of East Texas teams there. And you've got a few outliers, but a very good chance for East Texas to make some noise here in this little region too, Kyle.
Yeah, this region is absolutely loaded too, and I really like this Grand Saline Woodville matchup in round 2, especially after hearing from Pops how that Woodville team operates. I think this is going to be an extremely physical, hard-nosed game between these 2 teams. But then DeKalb and Troop, I know DeKalb's been rolling this year, and they won that district over Dangerfield and Hooks and teams like that, but I really like this Troop team, and I think we could see a Troop Grand Saline matchup in round 3, which they were in the same district just last year. So very familiar opponents with each other. Then at the bottom half with New Diana, my only concern with that New Diana game, and again, I didn't watch any of it, so I don't know anything that happened, but I figured for them to only score 43 points and to give up 21, like just surprised to see that with how dominant they've been this year. But a win's a win. Dangerfield beating Harmony. Dangerfield's playing some really good ball right now. I think that New Diana Dangerfield matchup's a good one. But I think New Diana is still the better team there. Newton and Edgewood, I really like how Edgewood's playing right now too. I think Edgewood is playing some really good football right now at the right time. I know it's Newton. Newton's a tough squad, but I don't see any reason that Edgewood can't win this ball game. So I think you could see an Edgewood New Diana regional semi and a Grand Saline Troop regional semi, and I would be all for that. Lots of points. If that happens, lots of points in those two games.
Lots of points being scored. You're right on that one. You are right there. But yeah, this is a great region, and hopefully we'll be able to cover. We'll tell you what games we're going to have here shortly, but we'll have a lot of games probably in this little bracket coming up. Another bracket that I'm looking forward to is this 2A Division II bracket, Kyle, and I got to cover the Joaquin Rams and Centerville Tigers last week, and Joaquin got the win down there. But going through this region, you got Honey Grove beat Legion Fields 56-20. They'll take on Hearn, who beat Timpson 31-21 in a surprising, like we talked about sweeping districts, and that district of 11 2A Division I, we thought Timpson was the only one left. Oh, Timpson's going to handle it, right? Well, they didn't take care of business, and Hearn got that one. So now Hearn will match up against Honey Grove. A really juicy matchup. Wascom and Garrison coming up, a rematch of early in the year, a 1-point game, as Wascom wins over Paul Pewitt 67-20, and Garrison wins 56-13 over Corrigan Camden. And Kyle, this one's a really good matchup there in round 2.
Yeah, no, that's tasty. After Garrison winning 21-20 in week 1, Wascom gets their rematch, and I think both teams are playing completely different football now. They're both playing a lot better. This one is going to be an absolute banger, as Seamus would say.
And when we go down to the bottom half of the bracket, you've got Shelbyville got the win in round 1 over Leon, 62-7. So I believe DJ Barnes is probably back playing now, and
I would assume so.
Shelbyville's ready to make a run, and they'll get Beckville. No easy task in round 2, as Beckville wins 56-28 over Rivercrest. And then, of course, the game that I had, Joaquin won 38-28 over Centerville. And then Cooper beat Big Sandy 56-41, and a lot of points being scored in that one. Just a absolute offensive fest there. So the 8 teams, you've got Honey Grove, Hearn, Wascom, Garrison, Shelbyville, Beckville, Joaquin, Cooper. I mean, roll the dice. This team could win the region. Any of these teams can get on a run here.
Yeah, I have no earthly idea who's going to win this region. I mean, there's, like you said, honestly, looking at it, let me just count. I don't want to give myself away here. Yeah, all 8 teams I could see winning this region. Like, there's not one you look at and it's like, they're a little weaker than the rest. I guess Hearn would be the one that's the only outlier there for me, but that's because I don't know a lot about Hearn. But they just beat Timpson, so they got to be doing something right. So yeah, this region is absolutely wide open. And I mean, look at the possible matchups you could get in the next round. You could get Honey Grove and Wascom, or Honey Grove and Garrison. How about a Shelbyville Joaquin rematch with Shelbyville at full strength seemingly now, or a Beckville Joaquin, or a Shelbyville Cooper, Beckville Cooper? Like, there are some spicy matchups in this region, man. This is a very fun region to look at.
It is, and I'm just excited that we get to cover it. We'll hop over. We don't want to forget about Frankston over there in Region 2.
Yeah.
Frankston and Kearns. We also covered Kearns this year. Frankston and Kearns both picked up wins in Region 2. Frankston beat Ill Leaf 27-14. Kearns with an impressive win as the 3rd seed, 49-14 over Dawson. And I saw that Kearns team, man. They've got a couple of guys that can really go. They've got some good athletes over there in Kearns.
Now, I want to give a shout out to Coach McGee at Cayuga. I know they were a 4 seed going in there, hung really tough with an Axtell team to only lose by 14 in that opening round. Coach McGee's got Cayuga running in the right direction over there. I'd watch out for the Wildcats in the coming future. But I've seen Kearns in softball. I can't really say much about their football program, but I've seen them in softball, and softball had good athletes, so it doesn't surprise me that translate to football.
They've got the NETSN bump, Kyle, because we covered them in a game against Carlisle. So,
well, you need to cover Frankston to get that bump to Frankston as they go into.
We are covering them in basketball in a few weeks against Brookhill.
We are in Frankston.
Yeah, so may not be soon enough. I don't know.
We'll probably be in two places at once on that night as well.
Actually, that's a middle of the day game. 11
oh, that's right.
game.
That's
Yeah,
right.
that's a middle of the day special game. Yeah, during Thanksgiving week.
I got to remember to wake up early that day.
Yeah, I know. Me too, because I probably would sleep in if I wasn't doing that one. But yeah, so East Texas doing well in 2A Division 2. We go down to our last
Division
bracket
1.
here. Yeah, 2A Division 1. Sorry, this is 2A Division 2.
There it is.
That's what I was going with, and another really good bracket here. I mean, this one is another one that I'm like, man, we had our basically the East Texas district sweep, another 4-0. You had Mount Enterprise, Lovelady, Overton, and Grapeland all get wins in round one. And man, Grapeland beat Good West Sabine team 42-20. They'll take on Goldthwaite, which beat Maud, which is another 4-1 seed, 55-12. Goldthwaite's been on a roll lately. I don't know if that I want to see them. They beat Maud and Mart back-to-back meets.
Now the Mart win's impressive, but let me just say something about this region. District 9 is terrible. District 9 is a terrible, terrible region or a district. District 12, outside of Deweyville and West Sabine, not a great district. And even Deweyville and West Sabine got beat this week. So 9 and 11 are good. Or excuse me, 10 and 11 are good, but 9 and 12 not the strongest of districts.
So you've got 10 versus 11. You've got 10 versus 11. You've got 10 versus 11, and you've got 10 versus 11. Yeah. So
9-12, not great.
They're out. They're out first round.
9 is very bad. 9 might be one of the worst districts in the state.
Well, I mean, Sims Bowie made the playoffs, so no offense. We saw them play Overton earlier in the year, and Overton destroyed them. It was really bad. That was Jaron's press box. I don't know if you saw the picture of the press box. That it was rough.
The great accommodations over there in Sims.
But unfortunately, those districts are all out. So now you've got an interesting matchup. Now, man, Mount Enterprise is a very interesting team right now, Kyle. With Keegan Ash back and the way they can run the football, what travels, Kyle?
Running the football and defense travels. Listen, I could honestly see now. The one caveat to this is Mart, obviously, but Lovelady should handle business against Bremond. Although I believe, and I'm going to double check just to be sure. I believe when I was talking to Coach Kerhoff earlier, he was talking about Bremond. I think last year maybe, or I don't know. Anyway, Lovelady Bremond, that's going to be a tough matchup for Lovelady. I think Lovelady can win, but that's going to be a tough one. Mount Enterprise with Keegan Ash. Wortham beat up on a District 9 team. I'm not giving that much to look at, but Mount Enterprise with Keegan Ash is a problem. So I could see Lovelady, Mount Enterprise in that bottom half. I think Grapeland handles business against Goldthwaite. I understand what happened in the final week against Mart. I think there was more to that. I think Mart rested people. They had to.
I read they didn't. I read somewhere where somebody was asking about it, and they said no, that was not. They didn't rest players. So I don't know what happened there. I don't know.
So what happened with this Goldthwaite team? They get some move in that's just a star. How do they get the 4 seed?
I guess they could have. Could somebody been injured or had a couple of guys injured for part of the season? I don't know. I'm just trying to
let's look at their schedule. They're 7-4. Okay. They lost to Junction to open the year 40-6. Then beat Center Point 62-6. Lost to San Saba 20-12. And then District started. They beat Chilton 41-0. Beat Hubbard 61-0. beat Frost 69-28. Lost to Bremond 75-47.
Oof.
Lost to Wortham, who just blew out lost to Wortham 44-36. Then beat Meridian 49-0. Beat Mart 46-0, and then beat Mod.
Doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make any sense.
I mean, at all. Like, I don't know. Yeah.
And it's not like they've been world beaters. 2018 they were 1-9, 2019 2-8, 2020 3-8, 2021 5-6, 2022 0-10, 23 3-7. Like, I don't. No, man. Give me Grapeland. Give me Grapeland in that one. I think Grapeland would.
I just they're one of those teams that's like wants me scratch my head on. Like, it's weird.
Yeah, well, then, and that makes me scratch my head about this Overton Mart game, because I know how potent Overton's offense is.
Yeah,
and we know how much Mart can score, and the pedigree Mart has. Can Overton pull the upset? Can Overton beat Art or Mart?
Well, let's make some picks, Kyle.
Great segue.
All right, here we go. Let's see.
Are these on the website the only ones?
There should be. They may not be showing yet. I may have to release them for you.
Oh, well, I looked earlier and there was only 6.
Yeah.
And now there's nothing up there.
And now there should be something. It should be there now. Magically, I have the power.
Okay.
All right. Game 1, Thursday night is going to be in Sulphur Springs, I believe. It's Sunnyvale takes on Gilmer. Man, give me the Buckeyes, man. They're battle tested. They got through a really good center team. They played a tough schedule. I think they move on to round 3, excuse me.
Gilmer being shut out in the second half by center is worrisome, but I saw that team. It wasn't like it was Gilmer playing bad offense. It was really good defense by the center Rough Riders. I think that says more about center than it does about Gilmer. But for Gilmer to hold on and win that game, what travels, Brett? The run game and
defense.
Okay, give me the black flag defense. I'm taking the Buckeyes.
All right, game 2. This is the game we talked about a minute ago. One that you were concerned about for Jefferson. We have Grandview and Jefferson. That's also a Thursday night game. We'll have that game on NETSN via the NFHS network. So it'll be on. I think that's be Keith and Christian will be over in Athens Thursday night for that one. Man, this is tough, man. I really want to go with the Jefferson Bulldogs. But Grandview, man, they're always a really good team. Seems like them and Malakoff always go at it every year, late into the playoffs. They're the Zebras, right? I believe. Yes,
they are. Yes.
I thought so. Yeah, the Zebras. They've got their own little Zebra sports network, I think, or something.
They do. They do.
The Zebras. Man, I don't know. Kyle, what are you going to pick here? What are you thinking here?
Well, looking at Grandview's schedule.
Yeah, I'm looking at it too. I had to go look it up, and since they're not East Texas,
there's a couple of interesting ones. They beat West, which was the 4 seed, I believe, out of this district. Or no, it was actually Whitney. West didn't even make the playoffs. They beat West by 3. They lost to Mahia.
That's interesting.
They beat Maypearl by 3, beat Groesbeck by 2, beat Whitney by 3, beat Spring Hill by 7.
Oh,
their win over Eagle Mountain was 5.
They beat Spring Hill, like the Spring Hill that we know. That's
the Longview Spring Hill. Yeah.
Okay, that made my decision easy. I'm going with Jefferson. Spring Hill is not a good football team. I'm sorry, but no offense to you Panther fans, but y'all are in your sport. Maybe the round ball, basketball and baseball is more Spring Hill sport. I'm going with Jefferson.
That one kind of did it for me too. Well, I had just glanced at the schedule, and that was my first time like reading the scores. And as I was reading it, I was like, oh yeah, give me Jefferson by a lot.
Yeah.
I know what I said earlier about Jefferson being inconsistent and they struggled with Mineola. Like, I get it, but I think that was more of a wake-up call for Jefferson. And because they outscored Mineola 34-7 in the second half. So I think that woke Jefferson up, and I don't think they're going to overlook Grandview.
All right, game 3, a game that we will have on NETSN pending approval. Hopefully, by the time this airs, we'll have that game link up. If not, it'll be up shortly. Hopefully, Shelbyville and Beckville, a juicy matchup here in round 2. Man, this one's also tough. Shelbyville at 9-2. Got to put an asterisk there. The game against Joaquin, they didn't have DJ Barnes. DJ Barnes is back. And I think a DJ Barnes Shelbyville is a dangerous Shelbyville. So give me the Shelbyville Dragons in this one to beat Beckville.
Okay. Well, listen, I agree with you that having DJ Barnes on your team is a game changer. I will counter you with
Jordan Prince,
a gentleman named Jordan Prince, who scored 6 touchdowns in a game against Elysian Fields that I was at earlier this year. I really like this Beckville team, man. They are quietly – we don't talk about them much because they just go out there and they just win football games. Like, that's just what they do. They just win football games. And they lost to Wascom by 14, but we know how good that Wascom team is. So, man, I really like this Beckville team, and this is an opportunity for me to gain one on you.
I know
so
you were
going to
go with,
Bearcats.
you were going to go with whoever I said, because this is one of those games that could go either way. So you were going to go with whoever I said. You were going to say the opposite. I knew that was going to happen.
Give me the Beckville Bearcats, baby.
I mean, you look at Shelbyville. They lost to Mount Enterprise early in the season, which that was a Keegan Ash Mount Enterprise, and then the only other game that they lost was against Joaquin without DJ Barnes. So I just they beat Garrison by 1. Garrison beat Wascom by 1. Wascom beat Beckville. I don't know. I'm gonna go with Shelbyville. I don't know. I think it'll be a good one.
It's not a bad choice. I think it's going to be a really good game. This is a toss-up game. It'll probably come down to 1 point because these teams like to play close games. So it'll be a close contest. But yeah, I'm taking the Beckville Bearcats in this one. Hard-fought game though.
All right, game 4, Cooper and Joaquin, a game I'll be at. I'll be in Bullard on Friday night. Game I'll be covering over there. It'll be me and Vincent Johnson in the booth for that one. Man, I saw Joaquin last week, man, and they were just impressive. And they got a couple guys I was reading that starters that have been out. They got 1 back last week. They're supposed to get a couple more back this week. And they got a guy, Hawkins. He was 42 out there, but he was 50 on the roster. But that guy plays D end on one side, and he runs the ball like he's not like a Jerome Bettis is that big, but he's a big bruising back. He will run you over and run by you. They've got a couple of guys. They've got obviously number 1, Dolan Jordan in the backfield as well. It's an interesting offense because a lot of times when you run the ball like that, the quarterback keeps it a lot, but not Joaquin. He doesn't have a lot of carries. He's the distributor, even with this running game they've got. The only issue I have with teams like Joaquin is it's ball control. So if you get behind, can you catch up? As long as you stay on the change, stay with a good, where downs where you can continue to run the ball, you can be well. But what I saw a Joaquin team in the second half kind of shut down a Centerville team that is a really good offense as well. Their defense played well. They made some adjustments, and Centerville struggled moving the ball in the second half. So I'm going to go with Joaquin here. I think they take care of Cooper and move on to round 3.
Yeah, we talked about it earlier. Joaquin's style of football travels, but Cooper runs the same style of offense. Like, it's the same ground and pound. We'll see how many possessions we can limit you to throughout the game. And you're right, though. It's a great offense when you're in front of the chains and when you're leading the game. When you're trailing or playing from behind the sticks, when on first down you lose a yard or two, immediately your entire drive is in jeopardy because you're already behind the sticks with that style of offense. because now you pick up 3 or 4 yards on second down. Well, now you're at a 3rd and 8, 3rd and long. So, yeah, it's great when it works if you can control the clock. And I think both teams are going to be trying to do the same thing. It's going to be almost reminiscent to the Centerville game, where Centerville and Joaquin were so similar. I think Joaquin and Cooper are the same way. I like that Joaquin team, though. I like the Joaquin Rams. I think they're playing good football right now. Got some momentum. It's going to be important for them to stay in front of the sticks and keep the ball away from Cooper, because Cooper is the type of team, you give him the football, you might not get it back for the rest of the quarter. So, but I'm going to take the Joaquin Rams to get the win over Cooper in round 2.
All right, game 5, Dangerfield and New Diana. Another little East Texas matchup here. And New Diana, they've been so good all year. At this point in the season, Dangerfield's been one of those teams we've scratched our heads at all season. They've been up and down, and then they got to district play. Maybe they got some easier opponents and they started winning, but they beat Harmony round 1, which Harmony struggled this year. They weren't as good a football team as they have been in the last several. I'm just going to go with the team I think is been more consistent. And 11-0 is pretty consistent, Kyle. That's the last time I checked. That was about as consistent as you could get.
Listen, ask some people, and being undefeated still means you're inconsistent. So
yeah, but that's the thing too. I know New Diana they were in a tough district with Troop or West Rusk. That was a tough district. They went through there. They pretty much dominated. I mean, Troop gave them a little bit of a game, but New Diana enforced their will in the second half and kind of cruised on to a win. I think New Diana is battle tested. I think they're ready to go, and I think they'll take Dangerfield out and move on to round 3.
I haven't believed in this Dangerfield team all year. I just haven't. And I know they played a really tough non-district schedule. They always do, and I get that. But I just haven't been impressed with Dangerfield this year. I think New Diana's got a really good football team, and I think New Diana and Grand Saline are on a collision course for that regional final. And so in order for that to happen, that would mean New Diana would have to win. So it could be the Eagles.
You like the Eagles also, by the way.
Yes, I do.
All right.
All Eagles.
Game 6, Columbus and Westwood in a top 10 state matchup in round 2. Man, this is me. I got two ways of thinking about this. I got thinking up here, and I got thinking down here with my heart. I'm like, when you got the best player on the field, is it a difference maker? But then
Who's
again,
the best player? Are you saying Grayson Rigdon?
I'm saying
the best
Grayson
player on the field?
Best player on the field. I think the best player on the field. I think Westwood has a trio of guys that are really good. Man, this is tough for me because I don't want to go against West, but man, Columbus is just a really good team. And unfortunately, I think it ends for Westwood here. I don't like it. I hope I'm wrong, but I'm going to go with Columbus here to knock off Westwood and move on.
I'm so glad you said that, because that opens me up to take Westwood and gain a game on you. Listen,
okay, I hope you win this one. I'm okay with that. You know, this is
I am, again, this is probably recency bias because I've seen this Westwood team 3 times this year, but Kavian Bryant, a sophomore quarterback. You got John Denman, who's going to TCU next year at running back, who his coach, Glenn Tunstall, who coached Adrian Peterson, said the other day that John Denman has the best vision he's seen in a running back since he coached Adrian Peterson. That's high praise for, especially here in East Texas. So you got Kavian Bryant, John Denman. On the outside, you got Kason Dial that can go up and make great one-handed catches. You got Chris Carter that could make catches, not that Chris Carter, the other Chris Carter, that can make catches across the middle of the field. David Russell, who plays both ways. He's a great player. Like, I love this Westwood team, man. And for everything that they've been through this year, where these kids didn't even know if they were going to be in this position 3 weeks ago because of all the UIL crap that was going on. I think they're playing for something more. I think they're playing for Coach Bishop. I think they believe Coach Bishop did nothing wrong, and they're playing for Coach Bishop. I think they have a renewed sense of energy. I understand that first round game was close, but they traveled to New Caney to play a game. Like, that's a long trip from Palestine to New Caney to play a football game. They got another long trip this week, having to go to College Station, facing a really good Columbus team. But I am taking the Westwood Panthers. Why not? Give me the Westwood Panthers to go 12-0 and advance to the third round. Let's go, Westwood.
All right. I mean, I like that pick. I wouldn't be the pick 'em champ if I have to think head right now. I can't go with my heart here. I've got to.
I understand.
I'd love Westwood to win. I just don't know. I just don't know if they have enough. Now, if they prove me wrong, that's more power to them. I hope so. Hopefully, they use this as bulletin board material. That NETSN guy picked against us.
And I hope they say that other NETSN guy cut a good promo for us.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. All right, so we got game number 7 here. Decab and Troop. A game we'll have on NETSN. It's going to be over in Longview at Pine Tree, in their stadium there. Man, this one's another one, Kyle. This is a really tough matchup. I know Troop has been really good this year, but Decab has been as well. Just going down through Decab's schedule here to bring it up. They beat Mineola. They beat Pittsburgh. They lost to Jefferson, which is a step up. We know how good Jefferson is. They lost by 6 to Jefferson. That's their only loss. They beat Harmony. They beat Hugh Springs. They beat Dangerfield. They beat New Boston, Redwater. Now, the only thing that worries me is some of the wins on their schedule. They beat Dangerfield by 2. What has Dangerfield been this year? They've been kind of inconsistent. They beat Redwater by, I know it was 26, but I saw Redwater against Brookhill. Brookhill beat them in week 1. They weren't a very good football team. I don't see many wins on this schedule. The loss to Jefferson is the most impressive thing, at Jefferson by 6. That's impressive. But other than that, I don't see any of these wins that really tell me how good they are. Troop, on the other hand, is they've played a tough schedule. So I'm going to go with the Troop Tigers to get the win over Decab.
Man, I was really hoping you were going to pull a Decab and pick them, because I was going to get to gain another one on you. Yeah, I'm not picking against the Troop Tigers in this one. I understand Decab, district champ, a 10-win season for Decab. That's great. That's excellent. I just like this Troop football team, man. I like how Troop's playing right now. I like their quarterback, Bryce Wallum. I like their running back, Brett Wells. I like their coach, Sam Wells. I like their team. So give me the Troop Tigers to advance to the third round and get a rematch against Grand Saline.
Ooh, another good one. We'll see if we get it. Game 8, another game that we'll have on NETSN via the NFHS network is Garrison and Wascom over in Carthage on Friday night, and there's a rematch from earlier in the season where Garrison won by 1 point. Man, I saw Garrison last year. The Yarbrough brothers are really good. They're a really good dynamic duo on offense. But man, Wascom has some dudes, man. I'm talking, they're just athletic all over the field. I saw them play a Big Sandy team coming in. That was a big game in that district, and they just dismantled them on all phases. They have great defense, they're great offense and special teams. I think Wascom gets their revenge. I think they get the win over Garrison and they move on.
Man, this is a tough one. This is the red zone game of the week, so I'll be in Carthage on Friday night for this matchup between Wascom and Garrison. I don't even know. I've seen both teams. I was at that Wascom Big Sandy game with you.
You saw what they did. I mean,
on all 3 phases. It wasn't just like offense dominated or defense dominated or special teams. Like, it was all of them. Like a blocked punt for a touchdown, a punt return for a touchdown, a pick 6, a rushing touchdown, a passing touchdown. Like, they scored every which way imaginable. But you got Garrison.
I know.
That beat Timpson in the Battle of the Atoyac to get off the schneid. First time in 7 years that Garrison got a win over Timpson. They performed really well. in that final game against Joaquin, held Joaquin to 8 points in that game. Like, this Garrison team's good, man, and they're playing some good ball right now. But Garrison also has that Joaquin style offense where they like to play ball control. They're not the type of team that's going to get in a shootout with you and it's going to be a 56-55 game. Like, that's not Garrison football. And if Garrison's in a game like that, I feel real bad about their chances, because that's not their style. Wascom can play that style. Wascom can put up a ton of points.
They can play any style. They can play multiple styles.
Oh man, this one's tough. Who'd you pick?
I took Wascom.
Man, this is another toss-up, kind of like the Shelbyville-Beckville one. Same districts too.
Same districts, yeah.
Golly.
It just shows how tough this is to pick. Like, I made my pick, but I'm not super confident with that. I feel like that I saw Wascom and I saw what they did. That's why I went with Wascom. I've seen
Garrison this year,
Garrison, but not this year. But I know what they can do as well. I just feel like that, and I think that Garrison, getting that win early. Now Wascom, man, they've had that game circled, getting that rematch for however many weeks.
Well, these two teams are completely different from week one. Like, I don't think these are the same two teams. I could see it being another 1-point game though. Like, that wouldn't surprise me. Man, you took Wascom. I'm leaning towards Wascom, if I'm being honest. But this is a toss-up game, and it's another opportunity for me to gain one. I could also lose one on you, which would then negate if I won the one earlier.
It's tough.
Give me Garrison. Give me the Garrison Bulldogs.
All right. Game 9, Wortham and Mount Enterprise. Man, Mount Enterprise getting in as the 4 seed with that win in week 11 versus Alto, and they're on a mission. I think Mount Enterprise has a favorable matchup here. They've got Wortham, and it's weird because they got in as the 4, and then you had Poor Overton get in as the 2, and they get Mart round 2. And you look at what Wortham's done this year. They lost to Mart 36-6. They lost to Bremont 30-60. So those are the 2 losses in district play. They also lost to Rio Vista early in the year. But man, they're putting up a lot of points. But this Mount Enterprise team lately has been on a roll. I think they continue to roll through, and they knock off Wortham here in round 2 and move on to the next round.
I think the most impressive thing for me about Mount Enterprise, looking back at it, is their 1-point loss to Overton a couple weeks ago. Like, I think that is that's more impressive to me than anything I see on this Wortham schedule.
They beat Shelbyville.
Who?
Mount Enterprise beat Shelbyville by 1 early.
Well, yeah. But I mean, that's a big win too. But
and that was a DJ Barnes Shelbyville team.
We think.
No, it was early in the year. It was. Barnes didn't get hurt till the later in the year.
Okay. Listen, I like this Mount Enterprise team. Keegan Ash being on the team makes a world of difference for the Wildcats. I honestly am picking Mount Enterprise, and I don't think it's very close, truthfully. I think it's a good 20, 30-point win for the Wildcats.
Yeah, I think a Love Lady Mount Enterprise next round matchup, a rematch of district. I think that's a very good chance there. All right, game 10. Woodville and Grand Saline. Another good matchup here is Grand Saline coming in undefeated, looking to move on to the next round as they continued on a warpath, we think, maybe for a new Diana game down the line. But got to get past Woodville. We saw how they handled ARP last week. Very good football team. But, man, I think Grand Saline, man, they're just that guy. They're just are on a mission this year. They're rolling. We kind of took them, or at least I did, early in the season. didn't know how serious Grand Saline was, but every week they just kept beating people. I think this is another week they just go through the motions and they take Woodville and they beat them this week. I think it'll be a good game, at least for the most part. I think they could pull away late, but give me Grand Saline here to move on and possibly see Troop in round 3.
Listen, from what Pops told me about this Woodville team, I really wish full transparency, it was between this game and the Wascom Garrison game for game of the week. Like, we almost went with Grand Saline, Woodville for game of the week, which would have been another good choice. I really wish I could see this game. I was kind of unsure about Grand Saline earlier this year as well, until I saw them in person against Edgewood. Seeing that Grand Saline team put up 70 points and do it rather easily, and do it by running the football the majority of the time. Brett, we've said it multiple times tonight. What travels?
Running the football and defense.
Exactly. Now, Grand Saline's defense isn't the best. I think they got some work to do defensively. I don't think it's as strong as they could be. But offensively, when you can literally outscore anyone you're on the field with, that is a huge, huge thing. Now, the thing that Art did really well is run the football. Woodville shut down Josh Smith in that ARP running game. So now I know ARP had some turnovers too. It's going to be imperative that Grand Saline holds on to the football, doesn't give Woodville free possessions. But I will have to see it to believe it for somebody to stop Jet Taylor and Colt Boyd in that Grand Saline Indian backfield. Like, I would have to see it to believe it. And I don't think that happens this week. I'm going to take the Grand Saline Indians and Coach Joe Drennan. I still believe, after seeing them a few weeks ago against Edgewood, they're very almost identical to the 2016 Mineola State Championship team coached by Joe Drennan. And until I see differently, I'm not picking against Grand Saline. So you give me the Grand Saline Indians over the Woodville Eagles.
All right. That's going to do it for our picks. We'll talk about, let's see, where you're going to be this week. You told us Friday you're going to be where, Kyle, just so everyone knows.
I'll be in Carthage Friday for the Wascom and Garrison matchup, 7 p.m. kickoff from Bulldog Stadium. You can watch the game along with me on the NFHS network.
Yeah, Jaron will be there. We'll have on Thursday just the NETSN broadcast on NFHS. Well, Thursday we'll have Jefferson and Grandview over in Athens at 7 p.m. and we'll have Winsboro and Palmer in Royce City at 7 p.m. Keith will be over in in Athens for Jefferson Grandview, and Jaron will be over in Royce City for that Winsboro Palmer. And guess who's going to make his debut out of retirement for the Winsboro Palmer game? Somebody
Who's that?
very, very close friends of.
Oh,
some guy named Jeremy Titsworth.
Oh, he's done a few games on this network before. It's been a while. I didn't know he was still out there calling games.
Yeah, he's coming out of retirement to join Jaron up there, so it should be a lot of fun. And then I'll be here in the NetSN man cave here and back at the station, I guess you'll call it, and we'll have a little show going on. We'll pop in and out of all the NetSN games, and it'll be a lot of fun here. So hopefully we'll be able to do that. And then Friday, we'll have 3 games on the NFHS network. As Wascom and Garrison just talked about, Jaron and Josh will be over there in Carthage for that one. I'll be traveling over to Bullard for Joaquin and Cooper. Vince will be on the call with me on that one. And then we'll have over in Pine Tree in Longview area, Troop and DCAB, and Keith and Jason will be on the call over there in Pine Tree. So we'll have those 3. And then also on the network, pending approval, we have put in for the Shelbyville and Beckville game here on YouTube for free. So hopefully we'll get approval for that over the next few days, and we'll have that link up for you as well. So, man, just some banger games, and just blessed to be able to get the call and have them on our network and for our guys to cover them.
Yeah, and that's a really, really good slate of games, and there's some really good matchups this week that I'm looking forward to, and that we went over a lot of them in those pick'ems. Those are kind of the big games this week. But I think I'm excited because I think a lot of what we see this Thursday, Friday will play into the following week when we get some really, really good East Texas rematches between maybe District of Doom competitors, maybe other district opponents that get to rematch each other in that third round. So I like seeing those rematches in the playoffs because a team can get blown out in the regular season and come back and win in the postseason when it matters. Kind of like the Bills and the Chiefs. The Bills can beat the Chiefs in the regular season every time, but when it comes postseason, Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs win when it matters. So it's very fun to see those matchups.
So we have a lot going on the network this week. We had last night we had the Piney Woods coaches show. Larry had some coaches out for that. Tonight, Kyle and I's clones are over in Brook Hill as the Brook Hill Lady Guard, the Bullard Panthers, like crosstown rivalry game. That game is probably over. Probably missed it. Our clones had it earlier. Go back and watch it on NETSN. I'm sure it was a great finish there. And then, of course, on Wednesday, Larry's going to have a basketball preview show. I'm not sure what it's going to entail. It's tomorrow night. And so he's going to preview some of the Piney Woods teams down there and talk a little bit of hoops. And then also tomorrow night, we'll have some wrestling here on NETSN. We've got a big pay-per-view, Full Gear, coming up this weekend. Kyle, we're going to talk about some Full Gear. You hadn't even thought about Full Gear yet, have you?
Did not know we had a show Wednesday, but now I do.
Yes, as we've got some good wrestling. We'll actually finish up our Mr. McMahon. We'll talk about the last episode of the Mr. McMahon, the one they kind of revealed at the end after he was, I guess, done interviewing, after all the scandals and stuff came out. So it'll be interesting to talk about that, and then we'll talk Full Gear. We got some banger matches coming up that I'm excited about, and so we'll have that wrestling content on here as well. So full week of action here on NETSN. Every day there's something. So hopefully everyone gets to tune in the content of their choosing and enjoys listening to our different personalities here on air. But Kyle, just me and you again. It was a little tamer this week. No fights broke out. I mean, we got some good discussion in, and we didn't have to referee tonight.
And we got out of here in under 2 hours. So
That's
listen, we're doing good.
True. Oh man, that's gonna do it for tonight's episode of Beast from the East. For Mr. Red Zone OT, KO Kyle Owens, I'm Mr. NETSN Brett Swinney signing off for tonight. Hope you enjoyed tonight's show. We'll see you next week when we talk more playoffs. Will we have some rematches? We'll see. We'll find out next week. Everybody have a great rest of your week. Be safe traveling to games, and we'll see you next time right here on NETSN. Good night, everybody.
Lean on your brother tonight. Let your brother count on you every play tonight. Okay? And come out and have fun. The gates are locked. Ain't nobody getting out now. They can't run. The gates are locked. Let's bring the fight to them, guys. Yes, sir. All right, brother. Let's pray.
The Northeast Texas Sports Network is dedicated on delivering the most entertaining sports broadcasts in East Texas. And if you're interested in having your next sporting event streamed live, visit us online at